Good evening and welcome to Daily News Simplified. In today's edition, dated 11th of April 2024, we are taking the following topics with respect to your civil services examination. From the mains point of view, we have taken three articles. First one being a CSDS report with respect to corruption in India. The report highlights that corruption in India has increased over a period of 5 years, that is from 2019 to 2024. The next article is with respect to curative petition and the process of filing and the underlying issues with respect to curative petition and the Supreme Court. The third article is inspired from Indian Express article, that is Nari Shakti, lessons from Japan. This article is with respect to increasing the female labor force participation ratio with respect to Indian economy. When we talk about the prelim section, we are taking three articles. The first one being a cultural fest that is taking place in Kerala. The second one being International Atomic Energy Agency, and the third one being National Green Tribunal. So without further delay, let us begin our preparation. One thing I would like to remind you that if you like our courses and initiatives, please show your love and affection by giving a like, subscribe and thumbs up button with respect to our videos. So let us begin. The first article is given on page number 10, is with respect to corruption, the issue of corruption, and which the report says that it has risen over in the past 5 years. So CSDS is a civil society organization which conducts pre-election surveys with respect to various parameters. For example, let us say they will conduct elections predictions and surveys with respect to the likability of political party, whether ease of living has increased or decreased, what are have their political parties met their promises that they made to the voters, so on and forth. In the series of surveys, they conducted a survey with respect to the challenges of corruption, and they found out that corruption has increased. What is the syllabus mapping for this news? The syllabus mapping is with respect to General Studies paper 4, topic number 7, that is probity in governance and challenge of corruption. In the past, there have been direct questions with respect to your civil services paper number 4, that is ethics, integrity and aptitude, with respect to the issues of corruption. For example, in 2019, there was a question that non-performance of duty by a public servant is a form of corruption. Justify your answer. So let us begin by understanding the basic definitional aspect of corruption. So World Bank, which is a international agency, it defines corruption as a use of public office for private gains. Now you might think that this definition is very simplistic, but this definition is deliberately kept simplistic so as to make it encompassing of a wide range of issues and behaviors such as bribery, patronage, misappropriation of funds, favoritism, nepotism, so on and forth. When it comes to India, second ARC defines corruption with respect to this formula that they have given, that is monopoly plus discretion minus accountability gives rise to corruption. Right. So we will understand all these words one by one in the due course of our preparation. Now this screenshot is again from today's newspaper, and the news reads that 3 senior Chandigarh IAS officers who went to Paris switched hotels and made unauthorized expenditures, says an audit report. So this is one of the recent and very funny incident of civil servants using their powers to gain from the public offices. The context of this news is that these three particular civil servants, you will find all the various instances of corrupt practices in their conduct. These civil servants to begin with were not supposed to go to Paris. There was an event that was carried out and the chief architect of Chandigarh was supposed to go over there, but instead of sending him, they cancelled his itinerary, and they kind of sent themselves to Paris. Not only they did send themselves to Paris, but they also changed the living and accommodation that was given over there, and they kind of upgraded it. So this is one of the prime examples of misuse of public funds for private gains, right? So let us begin by understanding what are the causes of corruption when it comes to India. Now, if we talk about the ancient philosophy, Kautilya in his Arthashastra writes that checking corruption is like checking a fish in the water. Just like you cannot know how much water a fish can drink while the fish is in the water, similarly is the case with the public servant, because they swim in the vast resources of public fund. So it is very difficult to judge how much corruption they have done. So corruption is as old as Kautilya, right? So in medieval times, in Mughal period, there were issues such as Mansabdari system and Bakshish system. All of these systems gave rise to various kinds of corruption. Bakshish, which was initially meant as a kind of tip, gradually turned into a system of corruption and a system of bribery. Later on, when we shifted to British colonialism, because the company had to make forceful capture of territory, so they had to give civil servants discretionary powers, and in course of time these discretionary powers got so much enlarged that discretionary powers were used for political corruption, right? And the same legacy was in the post independence carried out by the Indian civil services, and it made a deadly cocktail with the socialistic principles of developmental state, because developmental state means a state has to spend more and more money when it comes to the development of the country. So the discretionary powers made a kind of a deadly cocktail with respect to the socialistic principles, and corruption further exacerbated. Now let us see the social causes of corruption in India. The social causes of corruption is with respect to, we can say that there is a decline of social values in India. Again, there is a lack of value based education to our kids. There is a inherent social acceptance of corruption. The irony is that we don't hate the corrupt person, we only hate that we are not able to do corrupt practices, right? So there is a kind of social acceptance. Ideally, if you see that it is inherently written in civil services that it is a kind of service to the community, service to the society and a nation. But why there is a charm for civil services? Unfortunately, though, in case of India, the charm for civil services is for the traditional notions of brute power first, and then a notion of corruption and additional benefits that you get out of civil services. Then inherently the South Asian societies are based on familial ties, and there is an existence of strong nepotism in society. When the person with nepotistic tendencies goes into the services, he again carries it ahead along with himself, and the services become nepotistic, right? And to check all these malices, there is no strong civil society presence. So these are the social causes with respect to corruption. Coming to the economic causes, the economic causes again can be traced back to British Raj, and then chronologically arranged into license, permit, quota, legacy, in which the Sarkari Babus kind of acted as a god, right? And without license and permit quota, an entrepreneur could not do anything. Then there are issues with respect to LPG reforms. LPG reforms were supposed to bring transparency in the functioning of government, but unfortunately they have brought in more opacity. because LPG reforms made that private sector investment could come in, right? But nobody thought that the civil servants would derive an ingenious way with respect to bringing in more funds also, and they will ask for cuts and commissions. Then there are issues with respect to politician bureaucrat nexus and inadequate, lastly inadequate remuneration. That is the issue with respect to civil services. However, this issue has largely been corrected after 6th pay commission. Then there are political causes, just like Goswami committee has highlighted that there are huge costs of election, and ultimately elections are funded by political parties. And where do political parties get their funds from? When they are the political parties are in power, they make various kind of they indulge in various kind of corrupt activities, and the funds are direct manifestation of those corrupt activities. Then it also highlighted, Goswami committee also highlighted the role of coalition politics and criminalization of politics in this subject. Then there are administrative causes, just for example, legacy of centralization. Babus unfortunately think that over centralization is the way forward. However, the solution lies in decentralization. The perennial issues with respect to secrecy and red tapeism, security of tenure provided by Article 311 of the Constitution, and excessive regulation and delays are the perennial administrative causes with respect to corruption. And lastly, the legal causes, that inherently we have legislative mechanisms with respect to Official Secrets Act, which promote a culture of secrecy. It further perpetuates a culture of secrecy with respect to the civil services. There are loopholes in Prevention of Corruption Act. What are the loopholes? That for prosecuting a civil servant, you have to take permission of his senior, right? For example, what if the senior himself is indulged in a nexus kind of relationship, and he also is a partner in the crime? So he will, first of all, he will never give you sanctioning power. They will never allow sanctioning of the civil servant in question, and then he will further alert that person also that kind of inquiry is likely to be set up upon him. Then there are constitutional safeguards. Again, Article 311 is in question. Then let us now move on to how to tackle corruption. So your answers will likely take the shape of, in the mains examinations, your answer will likely take the shape of means orientedness. So you have to provide various kind of solutions, like administrative measures to tackle corruption, political measures, judicial measures. So some of the administrative measures are with respect to setting up of Civil Services Board, enacting a new Civil Services Act, better vigilance system, whistleblower protection, introducing code of ethics, strengthening various other agencies, right? Then there are political measures with respect to the suggestions that are political decentralization. However, see, all these suggestions are given by various committees and reports. But India is a unfortunately peculiar case in which the more we try to do the reform, the further we complicate things. First, there was a problem of centralization, because of which there was corruption. But later on, what happened? After 73rd and 74th amendment, there was initiated a process of decentralization. But unfortunate consequence of that process was that even corruption got decentralized, right? So earlier, only the top tier officials used to have their hands on the illegal money, but now even the lowest section of the civil servants have their hands on the illegal gratification. Then there are suggestions. Nevertheless, we have to write these suggestions only. For example, state funding of election, again it was suggested by Goswami committee. Strengthening of Panchayati Raj institution and proper adequate decentralization, not just passing on the power to the traditional stronghold. There must be a code of ethics for ministers. A separate ethics commission for politicians can be set up, And lastly, if possible, there can be a likability of state funding of elections, because election is the mother of all corruptions in India, because they have to parliamentarians have to spend huge amount of money in elections, then they try to recover that money after elections. Then there can be some judicial measures like separate courts for corruption. Again, these have been already set up. Establishment of fast track courts have been done to an extent under POCA. Social measures are, for example, vibrant civil society, a report card system for evaluating performance of civil servants can be done. Another suggestion can be public survey of public servants, and with respect to their efficiency and responsiveness can be maintained. And then lastly, and most importantly, a vigilant citizenry is a safeguard against corruption. Then there are economic measures with respect to dismantling unnecessary controls, more involvement of private NGOs, rolling back of state. That means minimal state as of which is required should be maintained, and there should not be a socialistic mega state, right? Then contracting out, right sizing of the government, and fixed and variable pay scheme can be implemented based on performance for the civil servants. Lastly, and again a highlighting issue, pressing issue, can be legal measures. So Right to Information Act has been called as a sunshine law. There is a need of further strengthening this law and then applying this law in letter and spirit so as to curb the corruption. Repealing the Official Secret Act is another remedy that can be suggested with respect to legal measures tackling corruption. And lastly, strengthening the already established offices of, for example, Lokpal and Lokayukt can be a way forward. However, again, the problem lies not with institutions and laws in India. The problem lies with respect to its implementation. After its inception, Lokpal has unfortunately not prosecuted even a single officer. You imagine the kind of condition these paper tigers are having, that either they don't take up case, and even if they take up reluctantly those cases, they do not prosecute the officer, the corrupt officials, and thus situation remains status quo. So that is all with respect to the problem of corruption, the challenge of corruption, and thus way ahead with respect to this issue. For further details, also kindly go through the PDF provided with respect to the video, which you can find on the Telegram channel and also in the link below. Right. Next, moving on to another pressing issue with respect to curative petition. The news is given on page number 10 of the Hindu, and the news reads that Supreme Court quashes 7,687 crore arbitral award against DMRC as patently illegal. Now, in the news, on reading on the face of it, the news does not say that why curative petition is important in this case. But why is it important? Because this quashing of this arbitral award was undertaken under the inherent powers of Supreme Court under Article 142 and 129, which is called as curative petition. So the facts of the case are not that important for us. What is important is the concept of curative petition and how it can be used, right? So the syllabus mapping of this news is with respect to GS paper 2, structure, organization and functioning of executive and the judiciary. And in past, there has been a question which says that starting from inventing the basic structure doctrine, the judiciary has played a highly provocative role in ensuring highly proactive role in ensuring that India develops. So these are the kind of questions that have been asked from this particular area of the syllabus. Now let us try to understand the concept of curative petition, right? So there is a standard mechanism with respect to the appeals filed in Supreme Court, right? For example, when a litigation begins, there is after the judgment in the lower courts, you can get the judgment on a appeal. Then even after appeal, you can go for second appeal, right? For example, even after second appeal, later on you can go for review of that judgment. So review of particular judgment is carried out under article 137 of Indian Constitution. However, if the party feels that still the justice has not been met, they can file for a curative petition, which is considered as a final award. This curative petition has to be filed within 30 days of dismissal of the original suit or review petition. Now, what are the constitutional provisions? Is curative petition written anywhere under the Indian Constitution? The answer is no. Curative petition is nowhere written in the Constitution. However, after the combined reading of Article 129, which says that Supreme Court has to be a court of record. What is the meaning of court of record? That all the judgments, generally all the judgments of the Supreme Court act as a precedent, right, for the upcoming cases. Then the Article 142 gives kind of superpower to Supreme Court to do complete justice. And by the combined reading of these particular sections, in Rupa Ashok Hurra versus Ashok Hurra, in this case, Supreme Court came up with the concept of curative petition. So this case was related to irreversible breakdown of marriage. Again, we don't need to go into the details of the case, but the relevant cases we need to know. The first one in which this concept of curative petition came was in the case of Rupa Ashok Hurra versus Ashok Hurra. Then in Navneet Kaur versus NCT of Delhi, this was further expanded. In this particular case, this was a case of death penalty, in which death penalty was overturned in curative petition because of inordinate delay in the execution. Then in Yaqub Menon, another landmark case in this journey is Yaqub Menon versus State of Maharashtra. Lastly, these two cases are of recent nature, that is Union of India versus Union Carbide, in which Union of India filed a curative petition with respect to increased remuneration or compensation from Union Carbide, right? And the latest case is with respect to Delhi Metro Rail Corporation versus Delhi Airport Metro Express Private Limited. Now, in Rupa Ashok Hurra case, there were certain tests which were laid as to on what grounds a curative petition can be filed in Supreme Court. So the first test that was laid was with respect to if the judgment has violated, if the review petition, even the review petition has violated the principles of natural justice, then in that case a curative petition can be taken up. Second, if there is a question of bias, a discovery of bias against a particular judge while doing a ordinary hearing or a review petition, there can be a provision for filing of curative petition. And then lastly, if there is a hint of abuse of court processes, a review petition can again be filed. Now, these are the statistical and factual metrics with respect to the curative petition. And what is the reasoning behind the institution of curative petition, right? What is the reasoning that has been given? Why should there be a curative petition, right? So in this particular case and over the period of development of cases, the Supreme Court gave various reasonings as to why there is a need of curative petition. So Supreme Court believes that even judiciary can be wrong. So see, there is an admission from the Supreme Court also itself that even judges can be wrong. To err is human, right? So there can be some wrongfulness or error while passing a judgment. So those errors of judgment should not lead to miscarriage of justice. Why? Because justice needs to be supremely held. So because of this, there should be a provision of a curative petition. Then second being the to prevent fraud or miscarriage of justice. Then third being to rectify any error brought to the notice of the court. And lastly, if judgment causes perpetual and irredeemable injustice, in those cases also we can go for, there is a need to go for curative petitions, right? So the curative petition can only be filed within a period of 30 days. And who will hear the curative petition? A curative petition will be heard by 3 senior most judges of Supreme Court, along with the judges who had passed the judgment. This is the setup for curative petition. Moving on to the third article, the article is taken from Indian Express, page number 9. The context is that India's women labor force participation ratio has been showing a rising trend, which is increasing from 23%. The only 23% was our FLFPR in 2017. And today in 2022 and 23, the FLFPR has increased to 37%. However, it is nowhere close to the global average, and the author seeks inspiration from Japan, in which Japan, the FLFPR is close to 75%. What is the syllabus mapping for this thing? Syllabus is of GS1, which is the role of women and women organization in development. And we have seen PYQs even in your GS paper 1 and GS paper 3 as well, that examine the role of gig economy in process of empowerment of women in India. So women empowerment, women's job prospects and everything, these kind of issues are of perpetual interest for UPSC, and you should focus on these kind of issues. Another question was in 2019, which read that what are the continued challenges for women in India across time and space, right? So moving on, let us see key facts associated with job employment prospects with respect to women. So the key facts is that the global average is 47%, and India's average is now come to 37%, right? In which rural FLFPR is 36% and urban FLFPR is close to 23%. Now let us understand what are the reasons for low FLFPR in India. So the first reason being that women perform care work in the households, but this care work is not recognized and thus remains unpaid, right? Then again, the next issue is with respect to social norms, traditional norms and cultural expectations from women. Women are expected, unfortunately in Indian traditional system, women are expected to not go out of home, right? They are expected to perform household chores and remain tied to their familial obligations. Then third and an interesting reason is higher education in delay. So in rural matrix, the issue is with respect to social norms. However, in urban areas, there have been emerging issues like higher education and delay. What is the direct correlation between higher education and delay? That generally if women go for higher education, they have to kind of delay their job prospects, right? So so imagine a girl who is going for a master's and then a PhD, she will have to definitely sacrifice the job opportunities which she could have gotten. Then there is an issue with respect to industry education disconnect. The education that is provided in the at the university level has very less relevance when it comes to the industry requirements. So women are naturally confined to pink sector jobs or no jobs at all because of lack of skills. Then there are limited job opportunities. Again, this is the again pink, these are called as pink sector jobs, right? So there are limited opportunities with respect to, for example, care economy, right? For example, women are kind of avoided when it comes to manual labor, so on and forth, and these are the kind of jobs which are prominently found in the industrial sector, right? Then there are issues with respect to safety concerns, and lastly lack of support with respect to policies. For example, developing countries are readily accepting technology and incorporating technology and in the office premises, so they are very much readily able to give work from home and parental leaves, the concept, these kind of concepts, but these things are not available in India. Moving on, what are the governmental initiatives when it comes to pardon, with respect to increasing the FLFPR? So the new education policy lays emphasis on gender equity and equitable access to education for both male and female child. Then government is coming up with the concept of working women hostel and one-stop centers and helplines for addressing the grievances when it comes to professional women. We have already carried out various kind of labor reforms. Creation of more gender friendly jobs is on the table. We have made necessary changes to maternity benefit act and providing enough maternity leaves, right, to the working women as well. But unfortunately the negative impact of these amendments becomes that private sector, which is again a majority job provider but a reluctant job provider to females, becomes more reluctant because they will have to bear the cost of maternity benefit leaves, right? Government is already again encouraging female entrepreneurship with the help of Rashtriya Mudra Kosh and Pradhan Mantri Employment Guarantee Program, in which if a woman applies, there is a component of 25 to 35% subsidy that can be availed by women. So in this diagram that is taken from a recent report, there was a survey that was carried out with respect to why women are not able to join the labor force. So this was a survey uh, carried out by the PLFS report by Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. So what is the primary reason that is given? That is with respect to child care. Second reason being, 44 close to 44% of women said that because of childcare they cannot go into the job market. Second one being they want to continue their studies, that is further higher education. Then third one being health or age related issues, and then others are close to 3.4%, that is social concerns and financial issues, right? So these are the issues with respect to female labor force participation ratio. Now what is the way forward? How do we increase the women labor force participation ratio? The first one being that because Manrega is a job guarantee scheme and it provides enough job opportunities for both male and female, but there is a lack of enthusiasm when it comes to job opportunities that are undertaken by women. So we need to ensure, the panchayats need to ensure that there is high participation of women in Manrega. Another issue with respect to employment in Manrega there are certain discriminatory approaches that are followed at the ground level, which needs to be tackled by the panchayats themselves, right? Then on the lines of Manrega, there can be a suggestion of National Women Urban Employment Guarantee Act, in which guaranteed employment will be given to women in the urban areas. The third one being accounting of care work, right? This should be taken into account and should be paid remuneratively. Then the next being invest in care infrastructure and service solutions, right? So these two recommendations have been again taken up from the article itself. Now what is the article? The article reads that Japan is following womenomics, that is combination of women and economics. The concept of womenomics was a byproduct of the philosophy of erstwhile Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, that is Abenomics. So what was the problem with respect to Japan? Japan had a aging workforce. So because there is a very low fertility rate in Japan, Japan was suffering from decline in the labor force. To compensate that, what they did, they introduced high women labor force participation rate, and by introducing sectors such as care sector and services sector, they introduced more and more women in the job market. It had twin benefits. The first one being that more and more women were incorporated in the market, and then because they were incorporated in the care sector, so better care could be provided to the people below the age of 60, that is better geriatric care. Next recommendation is with respect to flexible work options, because better work opportunities and internet connectedness has penetrated not just in urban but also in rural India. So better flexible work options should be explored. Then we need to work on attitudinal framework when it comes to female labor workforce, that female workforce should be given equal opportunities in the labor market. With this respect, in our PDF, we have given 2 case studies. Kindly go through those case studies of Karnataka as well as Japan so as to better frame your answers. Then the last recommendation is with respect to identification of niche sectors. For example, in Bangladesh, if we say that Bangladesh identified a particular sector, say textile sector, and with textile sector there could be more and more women friendly jobs, right? For example, similarly Japan identified care economy, right? So we also need to identify a niche sector, train our women in those sectors so that they can be incorporated in the market. One of the suggestions by Niti Aayog is that we should identify apparel sector as a niche sector, or for example footwear sector again can be a niche sector which can be identified and in which women labor force participation ratio can be further increased. With this we bring an end to our mains section. Let us take a 1-minute break and move on to the prelims section. So with respect to the prelims examination, we are going to take the following 3 topics. The first one being Garudan Thookam. So it is a cultural festival which is played in the state of Kerala. What is the context of this news? On the front page of the Hindu today, there was a picture which showed Sarkar Devi temple. So this is the temple, Sarkar Devi temple of Kerala, and devotees of Sarkar Devi temple participated in Garudan Thookam festival. So without any delay, let us understand what is this festival. So what are the key details when it comes to this particular festival? This is a ritual art form, and in which there are various kind of traditional instruments like chenda, ithalam and kombapattu are used. And this particular art form is carried out in 18 rhythmic patterns. So for our visual learners, because to make these things easier, we have identified and we are showing you the pictures of chenda, which is a kind of vertical drum, ithalam, which is a smaller or miniature version of cymbals which are also used in Manipuri, and kombu, which is a kind of bigal, right? So these are the three instruments which are popularly used in this particular dance form. Now, similar to this particular ritualistic art form is a Sarkara Devi temple, which is situated in the Thiruvananthapuram district of Kerala. The main deity of this particular temple is Bhadrakali, right? So Bhadrakali is being worshipped over here. The historical importance of this temple is that the Kaliyuth festival was first initiated in this particular temple by Raja Martand Varma, and this Kaliyuth festival is one of the most important festivals from the state of Kerala. And similarly, Meena Bharni Mahotsavam is also celebrated in the premise of this particular temple. On the basis of this information, let us try to solve a PYQ and a practice question. In 2017, there was a question on Manipuri Sankirtana. Now let us consider the following statements. It is a song and a dance performance. Yes, this is correct. Manipuri Sankirtana is a dance and a song performance. Cymbals are the only musical instruments used in this performance. Now look at the bizarre nature of this statement. If it is a dance and a song performance, can a dance and a song performance be done only on the basis of one instrument? No. Generally, to create music, obviously a common sense dictates us that to create music we need 2 to 3 instruments so as to make a rhythm, right? Orchestra. So this statement was wrong. It is performed to narrate the life and deeds of Lord Krishna. Yes, this was correct. The right answer was B. Now let us try to solve the particular MCQ. Consider the following statements with reference to the heritage and culture of India. Okay. First one being Garudam Thookam is a ritualistic dance form performed in the Vishnu temples of Odisha, no Kali temples of Kerala. Second, Chenda and Kombupattu are the musical instruments used in the performance of Garudan Thookam. Yes, we saw that Chenda, Kombu and Ilatham are some of the popular instruments, not necessarily the only instruments which are used, right? So this statement is correct. The performers in Garudan Thookam employ Thalavattam rhythmic patterns. So yes, this statement is also correct. How many of the statements are correct? The answer is 2 only. Moving on, the next article is inspired by a small news which featured on the Indian Express of today on the world page. So UN nuclear watchdog, that is International Atomic Energy Agency, is the global UN nuclear watchdog. It is doing an emergency meeting. Why? Because there have been instances of attacks on Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant that is located in Ukraine, right? So let us see the location of this particular nuclear power plant first. So this Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant is located on the southeastern part of Ukraine, right? This is also the largest nuclear facility of Ukraine. Now compare it to the Chernobyl disaster. The Chernobyl is located over here, right? So the context and importance of this news is not with respect to this particular nuclear plant, but with respect to International Atomic Energy Agency, right? What is IAEA? It is a nuclear agency that which was established in 1957. It was developed as a byproduct of the speech given by the then US President Dwight D. Eisenhower. The speech is called as Atoms of Peace speech. Interestingly, Madam Vijay Lakshmi Pandit was the president of United Nations General Assembly back then. Furthermore, this agency works for the safe, secure and peaceful use of nuclear science and technology. Another interesting thing to note with respect to this agency is that this agency not just reports to UNGA, that is United Nations General Assembly, but it also reports to United Nations Security Council. India has been one of the founder members of IAEA. Again, one of the important thing to note is that being a signatory to NPT is not a precondition to join IAEA. Presently, it has got 178 members and North Korea is not a member. This particular agency is headquartered in Vienna, that is Austria. Now let us understand a concept of additional protocols with respect to IAEA, right? So what is the primary function of International Atomic Energy Agency? Because we have learned that this is a global nuclear watchdog working under the United Nations. So obviously it keeps a tab or surveillance or observation with respect to any particular country's nuclear program, right? When in the pursuit of taking care or observing the particular country's program, this IAEA signs various kind of protocols with respect to particular countries. Every protocol is unique in its nature. For example, when India will sign a protocol, additional protocol, that will be India specific protocol. For example, if Germany would sign a protocol, that additional protocol would be specific to Germany, right? So additional protocols are nothing but various protocols that are being set under the ambit of IAEA, which are specific to specific countries, right? So it may include provisions for information about and access to various kind of nuclear facilities. For example, if in protocol it is written that you will have to show the mines from which you are mining uranium 235, right, or thorium, to the enrichment facilities and the reactors as well. So if a country particularly signs in the protocol that yes, we will show you all these facilities, and they'll have to show the facilities. What are these protocols entail to do? They entail to increase IAEA's ability to verify the peaceful use, right? Because this agency is considered to be the watchdog of nuclear related components so as to encourage its peaceful use. When it comes to India, India's additional protocol stipulates that only certain facilities are placed under the safeguard. We'll later understand what kind of facilities are there and which kind of facilities are placed under this particular protocol. Now, India's additional protocol applies many of voluntary safeguard provisions. Even if they have not imposed any particular safeguard provision on us, being a responsible nuclear power, we have placed certain kind of protocols on ourselves. And lastly, another point to remember is that India has not been recognized by IAEA as an NWS, that is nuclear weapons state. Now in 2018 there was a question with respect to, just read the wordings. In the Indian context, what is the implication of ratifying an additional protocol with the IAEA? What did we just learn? We learned with respect to additional protocol. So what was the right answer of this question? The civilian nuclear reactors come under IAEA safeguard. Why only civil nuclear? There are two kind of reactors. There are first being civil and second being military. So why only civil reactors will come under the safeguard? Because we have signed that kind of safeguard only, that kind of protocol only. Had we signed a kind of protocol that yes, both of our civil and military purpose nuclear reactors will come under the purview of IAEA, so obviously we would have been showing those reactors, military reactors as well. But generally speaking, most of the countries only keep their civil nuclear reactors under the purview and surveillance of IAEA. So the right answer was the civilian nuclear reactors come under the safeguard of IAEA. Now, based on the information that we just learned, let us try to solve a practice question. With reference to International Atomic Energy Agency, consider the following statements. India is one of the founding members of IAEA. Yes, this statement is correct. We just read that India is one of the founding members of IAEA. Second statement is a country must sign and ratify the Treaty on Non-Proliferation to become a member of IAEA. You please tell me, is it so? Is it so according to our understanding? No, this is incorrect. A country must sign and ratify IAEA's additional protocol after becoming a member. How many of the statements given above are correct? So right answer is, please write in the comment section. The third article, moving on to the third article, it is inspired by National Green Tribunal. What is the context of this article? That National Green Tribunal has said to the state of Punjab that you kindly explain to us how do you plan to manage 19 million tons of straw that will be generated in 2024. So this is again a good kind of accountability mechanism that the tribunal has been setting up. In the initial stages itself, the tribunal is reminding, kind of holding the state accountable, because you cannot, there is no point in beating the dead cow, right? So the tribunal in the initial stages itself is reminding the state that please tell us how are you going to manage 19 million tons of straw that is going to be generated or is about to be generated in 2024. So some of the things that the state of Punjab has said, that they will use off situ methods, like they will use straw in biomass plants, biogas plants and thermal power plants and brick kilns. But again, this amount that they said that the particular amount would be used is going to be insufficient. So again, in this context, NGT has said that you please come up with a plan and tell us about the plan. In this context, let us understand the body, that is National Green Tribunal. What was the inherent idea behind setting up this particular tribunal? The tribunal was set up to address the idea or the issues which were pertinent with respect to our environment and ecology. It is a statutory body. Again, in the last class, we learned what is the meaning of a statutory body. It means that it is enacted because of a mandate given in a particular statute. In this particular case, the statute is National Green Tribunal Act of 2010. The principal bench of NGT is located in Delhi and it has got 4 zonal benches: north, south, east and west. So obviously the northern bench is at Bhopal, again western bench is at Pune, eastern bench is at Kolkata and southern bench is at Chennai. Moving on, let us see what are the various objectives of National Green Tribunal. So environment versus development is a debate in which a lot of time and energy of the normal judiciary used to be lost. To take that into consideration, NGT was established for speedy disposal of the cases related to environment protection. Again, NGT का other objective is with respect to conservation of forest and other natural resources, enforcement of any legal rights and remedies related to environment and environmental degradation, giving relief and compensation for damaged persons and properties, and any other previous cases which are pending before the constitution of NGT shall also be heard by the NGT itself. Now let us see the appointment and working mechanism of NGT. NGT is headed by a chairperson which is appointed by central government with the consultation of Chief Justice of India. The qualification of the chairperson is that he or she should be serving or retired judge of the Supreme Court or serving or retired Chief Justice of India, right? The next point to remember is that the term and tenure of the chairperson is 5 years. Then again, after chairperson, it constitutes three. Its constitution has three elements. First is chairperson, second being judicial members, and third being experts. So, what is the qualification of for a judicial member? How many judicial members are to be there? Not less than 10, but not more than 20. For example, this number varies. Sometimes it can be as less as 10 members, judicial members, and the maximum it can be 20 judicial members. It is notified by the central government from time to time. What is the qualification? The person qualified to be appointed as a judge of High Court is competent to be appointed as the judicial member. The third one being expert members. So expert members can be not less than 10, but subject to a maximum of 20 members can be part of expert members. The expert members are experts with respect to environment, environmental conservation, various kind of laws, and social issues emanating out of environment, right? Then another point to remember is that National Green Tribunal deals in the following acts. The Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1974. Again, notice the chronology of development of environmental laws in India. You have to really read between the lines because this chronology has been arranged in a proper chronological fashion. The first one was Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1974. NGT has the mandate to go into this particular act and award its judgment. Again, the second one being Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Cess Act of 1977, Forest Conservation Act, Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act, Environmental Protection Act. Again, two important acts are Public Liability Insurance Act and Biodiversity Act. Most important thing to remember is that NGT does not deal with Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. So this particular act has been kept out of purview of NGT. Again, please kindly be reminded that Wildlife Protection Act of 1972, for this particular act, NGT has no mandate. Based on the above information, let us try to solve the questions. In 2022, there was a PYQ. Which of the following has been constituted under Environment Protection Act of 1986? The right answer was C, that is Central Groundwater Authority. Let us try to solve the practice question based on our reading. Consider the following statements with respect to National Green Tribunal. First, NGT can award compensation in cases related to Wildlife Protection Act and Biological Diversity Act. What did we just read? Biological Diversity Act is given. Yes. Sorry. But this act is not given in the mandate. So statement 1 is correct or incorrect? Pardon me. This statement is incorrect. Chairperson of NGT is appointed by central government in consultation with Chief Justice of India. Yes, this statement is correct. We read about the appointment of chairperson. That chairperson is appointed by central government with the consultation of Chief Justice of India. This renders statement 2 as correct. So which of the statements given is are correct? The right answer is B, that is 2 only. With this we conclude our session. Thank you for watching. Kindly like and subscribe to our channel and meet you soon. Thank you.